agenda along. So we'll call it to order, and we have the minutes. Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion's been made, motion's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the ayes have it. Any public comment? Anybody from the public? Let's see, so we are Assistant Development Rights Grant Application Task Force, discussion and vote.
So that's me. So we have included this sort of in the spirit of belt and suspenders, I would say. So I just wanted the board to be aware. I mean, usually task orders come before the board. We were in between board meetings. It was for a very small amount. It was under $4,000. We required assistance on an expedited basis with one of the most challenging parts of any of the grant applications that we submit, which is the benefit cost analysis. That one was for the RAISE 2024 grant application. The AECOM had just done the benefit cost analysis for the same project for another grant proposal, so it didn't make sense to reinvent the wheel by going to anybody else. We needed to get it done very quickly, and so we proceeded. So I am, again, I do think, I do have the authority to sign checks, and I do believe I also have the authority for us to make this decision. But just to, in an abundance of interest of transparency, would put it on the agenda for ratification. So I would ask for a motion to ratify the expenditure of $3,992.43.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I just think it's been great to see the successes for all the grant work that's been done. It's been remarkable.
Absolutely. When do you expect to hear on that one?
That's a good question. RAISE may not be the next one we hear on.
Right, Protect.
We'll get to that. And we have heard on Protect, which is great news. And then, but also Bridge Investment Program is pending. We have a small bridge investment program grant pending there. So, and that one should be sooner rather than later. So probably Bridge Investment next, and then RAISE 2024.
RAISE usually comes in the fall when they make their announcement, September,
Right.
October.
Yep.
So number 5, discussion, vote, and other action. Report, Pat.
I'll take that one. So at the last board meeting, I informed all of you that during the selection process for the program manager for the Infra Grant Project Bundle, we had selected HDR as the most qualified firm. We, since the last board meeting, have been negotiating an initial task order with HDR to get them on board so that we can have them participate in the selection of all of the design consultants for the 3 different project portions. So their first task would be to help us select the design consultants. They'll also review the grant agreement and familiarize themselves with any of the pertinent bridge plans to get familiar with the design components. We do anticipate that there will be future task orders because this is a multi-year duration project, so we'll get HDR on task orders as appropriate, along the way. This will be going on for about 4 or 5 years. They submitted a first task order and fee in the amount not to exceed $63,264.47. We reviewed it and found it to be reasonable. We've also sent it to the Federal Highway for their concurrence to ensure the eligibility for grant reimbursement. So what we're recommending is approval to execute the task order and fee with HDR pending Federal Highway concurrence with the task order.
Any questions for him?
How's the cooperation with Federal Highway? Are they
Very good.
responsive?
Yeah, we're working with John Nicholson. Yeah,
He's back.
he's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, working on the Providence office.
Please tell him I said hi.
I will.
This is somebody that was with the DOT years and years ago and left to go to Hawaii, Federal Highway?
I think it was,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
So the chair will entertain a motion. Motion's made and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, unanimously passes. We're moving well today. Number 6.
I'll take this one. This is multi-purpose tractor and attachments purchase order. We recently sold a Kubota tractor that we had. We sold it on public auction because it had limited usefulness for our maintenance staff. And once we did sell that tractor, in fact, it was the town of Jamestown that bought it from us, we evaluated an articulating tractor that would be more useful and versatile because it could accept various accessories. It also is well suited for mowing a lot of our steep hills that we have on our bridge approaches. Local distributor brought the Ventrac tractor on site and gave a live demonstration on its use. Other manufacturers of this type of tractor were evaluated by our staff, and it was determined that the best option was the Ventrac brand. Sourcewell, which is a cooperative purchasing agreement, is an allowable method of purchasing equipment under Rhode Island procurement regs. Ventrac belongs to Sourcewell and provided a contract discount for purchase through an authorized dealer, Turk Products. RIPA is a member of Sourcewell, and the total cost of the Ventrac tractor and included attachments, dual wheels, tough cut mower, and stump grinder is $41,252.06, and we would recommend approval to execute the purchase order in that amount not to exceed.
Sounds like a good deal.
Just curious what we got from Jamestown for the old one.
I think it was 48,000, Jeff, right?
Ahead of the game.
Wow.
Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, unanimously carries. Number 7.
Yeah, I'll take this one as well.
Getting that money out of you today, huh?
This is for the Raycon navigational aid for Mount Hope Bridge purchase order also. So the Raycon is, which is also called a radar responder or radar transponder beacon, device is used as a navigation aid on the Mount Hope Bridge and on the Newport Pell Bridge in coordination with the U.S. Coast Guard. The Raycon on the Mount Hope Bridge malfunctioned approximately 6 months ago. Our ATVA maintenance staff removed the unit and sent it back to the manufacturer for service. We did coordinate with the Coast Guard to let them know it was out of service during this time. But due to the age of the device, the manufacturer has been unable to source the parts to make the repair. So we decided to issue an IFB, which is an information bid, to purchase a new unit to restore the equipment to the Mount Hope Bridge. And we received only one quote by the deadline of April 15th from Orga Signal LLC in the amount of $38,750. We recommend approval to execute the purchase order with Orga Signal LLC for the purchase of the new Raycon in the amount not to exceed $38,750.
Chair will entertain a motion. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? There being none.
This is a key piece of equipment, navigation aid, essential that we have.
Yeah, good. Sounds like a good deal, too. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, carries unanimously. Director of Engineering, Capital Projects.
Yes. I'll go through these fairly quickly. So, Phase 2 AET construction, we now have the entire new gantry slab on both bounds in place. We have the total equipment building in place that just got brought in, was it yesterday? Yesterday, that's right. The bridge for structure E, both structures are now replaced, the decks in their entirety, including the barriers for the bridges. There will be some end post work that will have to happen probably in the fall, where we'll do some daily lane closures in the fall to get the end post finished up. But essentially, all the key components up in that area of the project are in place now, so that come the week of May 17th, we'll be able to start transitioning traffic back to 4 lanes coming through the whole corridor. So the project's really moving along nicely. Lynch has been really killing it out there. So been a pleasure working with them on that project. For the Mount Hope Bridge dehumidification project, Kiewit just finished up their work for the cable airflow test Monday.
Finished.
Yep, they're done. They finished very early. The preliminary results, I can tell you, were very good. They were, how did AECOM put it, they can always be better, but they were better than expected for that bridge cable. And the condition of the cable as they unwrapped it was better than they expected. They encountered no lead paste anywhere. It was all zinc. So there was no decontamination that they needed to perform. Now the design just continues. So AECOM will take the airflow test results, and they'll just continue towards 100% design for the project, and then, once that's completed, we will be able to get bid documents on the street for the final project. So I'll give you more on that once we get the final design, accelerated.
Erica, just a question on
Yeah.
that. What are the results? Like, what does the test tell you? The volume of air that is able to be,
It'll tell you, so they put in, they have an injection and exhaust sleeve.
Right.
They'll put in a certain pound of injection air, and then they measure the flow coming out at the end. So,
Cubic feet per minute.
right, so the amount of air that they were able to introduce into the cable was, I don't know, 17 cubic feet per minute was some of the numbers I think we were hearing, which indicates that the cable's accepting it, because if it couldn't accept it, you wouldn't get that much flow on the injection sleeve. Because it's a painted cable without a wrap like import, there were certain losses that they would find along the painted covering. So if it was insignificant, if they were just tiny air bubbles that they were getting between the injection and the exhaust sleeve, they didn't worry about sealing the wrap. It was an indication that the air was traveling. If it was excessive, they would wrap it with basically saran wrap and seal it off, and they would seal the cable bands if they were leaking. But then they measured with an airflow device at the exhaust sleeve to see how much came out. And if they had very little coming out, it would tell them that the cable was probably clogged with old oils, corrosion, whatever, right? And that would indicate that the airflow exchange would be very small. They were getting much better results. I mean, they were getting, I think, 4 or 5 cubic feet per minute at the other end, which was pretty remarkable given the fact that the cable's not sealed entirely because it's just a painted wrap. In the end with the project, it'll get a whole new wrap. It'll be completely sealed up. So what will happen is the results they're getting now will actually be better in the end project because everything gets sealed up all along the entire length of the cable. So the results they got were basically, that's only baseline. They should be even better at the end of the final project.
will
So
some,
it was encouraging.
do we know now, will some of the exhaust sleeves and input sleeves be able to be reused?
That we
in the
don't
final
know yet,
design?
but we're not sure yet.
Yeah,
So
I was
they'll-
just kinda hoping that we would, I mean, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, they'll go back and they'll look at the spacing and where they put those
Right.
in, and then basically say, can we reuse any of those
Right.
or not?
Cool.
They are all stainless, they were put in a manner that,
It could
you
be
know,
fun.
that they left them in place as it is right now, because, it would have been foolish to take them off, there's no reason to sealing the cable.
Particularly if there's a chance to
Right.
use them again, yeah. Cool. Really
They, during the test, they had 2 instances where we had water come out of the cable. I think, I know I sent the videos to Lori, I don't know if she forwarded the
I
video
was just
around.
trying to send it to Remy to see if he could quickly throw it up there so you can see it, but I'm happy to show it.
So on one of the exhaust sleeves, they had the exhaust port on the sleeve was probably at about the 4 o'clock position, it was knocked down at the very bottom, and they pulled the cap off and water just came pouring out. And that was just during an airflow test, so you can imagine the amount of water
It's in there.
that will come out once we do the dehumidification of the system.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I mean, it tells you exactly why we're doing this project, because this water is all sitting in those cables in the form of condensation mostly, but the airflow test brought all that condensation to the lowest point. So,
it's all climate change, right? Climate change.
right.
Buzzwords.
Thank you.
Just a couple more real quick. Rubberized asphalt chip seal design is ongoing. Hopefully we'll be doing that in the fall, out there on the bridge doing the work. The compression link design is in process. We just had a review on the 60% design submission, and that's progressing towards 100%. We expect to be at the 100% design in about another 4 weeks, and then we'll have bid documents to put on the street for that project to get that fixed. And safety measures feasibility study, we have a draft report in-house that we're reviewing for Mount Bridge and Jamestown Verrazano Bridge. And the Newport Bridges, River Bridge study is just still ongoing, that's on a separate schedule, so that's it.
Great.
That's good. So financial reports?
That's great. Our year-to-date, February year-to-date financial performance continues to be strong. While I have not finalized March yet, just looking at the traffic numbers, I expect March to come in just as good as February. So versus budget and last year, everything is very positive. With respect to budget, total revenue was higher by $5.4 million and 20%, and toll revenue was higher by $5.2 million with the gas tax higher by $236,000. Our year-to-date operating expenses are lower by $600,000, or about 6%. Personnel expenses, utilities, contractual services, insurance, repairs and maintenance, bridge inspections were all lower than budget, and the only two items that were higher than budget were our other supplies and expenses and our transponder expenses. So versus budget, everything is great. Even better is our performance versus prior year. Total revenue was higher by $1 million. This was entirely due to toll revenue, as our gas tax was essentially flat. Utilities, contractual services, other supplies and expenses, and bridge inspections, again, were all lower. Personnel expenses higher as we expected. We've hired additional personnel. We had the increases per the CBA. Insurance was higher by $100,000, and our repairs and maintenance were higher by about $15,000. Again, everything seems to be going along fine.
Jeff,
Yes,
the
sir.
insurance,
Yeah.
I thought that we had done pretty well on that with competitive
Yep.
pricing though. So this is compared to prior year.
Yep.
So it went up 100,000.
Yep.
That's
So
very strong against a really hard market.
it is a hard
That's a
market.
very small increase compared to what you'd see in the market.
Good.
Yeah.
So it's coming through things like workers' comp. Okay, so our payroll is up, so automatically your premiums are gonna be up. Auto liability was higher, our general liability was higher. Cybersecurity, a couple years ago, we went from $1 million to $2 million, but they're getting 25 and 30% increases in the cybersecurity world out
Well,
there.
actually, that clarifies it for me, because I was thinking, I was mixing up also the insurance on the bridges as well.
Our bridge, the bridge insurance policy was basically flat. We've held that flat for the last
That's what I was
4
thinking.
years.
Yeah, okay.
And we're in a 2-year lock.
Okay.
The last thing I just want to cover, and we've never really covered it, is the check register. That's basically a listing of any checks that are over $75,000. Again, we do this more for transparency, because you don't see any of the checks. It's just Lori and I signing the checks. But most of these on here for capital payments for capital expenses and for our insurance policies. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
I think it's Peter. Good, great, good job. Lori?
That's me. So, great news. Good, due to the hard work of many people at this table, as well as our partners at Hilltop Securities and our bond counsel, David Ferrara, Taft and McSally. We had meetings with S&P regarding our toll revenue bond rating. We were hoping for an upgrade, but we actually were hoping for the outlook to go from stable to positive. Instead, we'll take an even better increase, which is the upgrade was from A to A+. Our bond counsel actually said he didn't even think that was possible. So it's a great win for us. And in all fairness, I think I have told you before that toll revenue bonds are actually a very appealing investment in the finance world. I found that out when Treasurer Diosa held his forum for the finance world to come and hear about the various investments that are available around. And there's no question that toll revenue bonds are considered a stable outlook. For us to go from stable to positive, probably we would need a second tolling point, which of course we do not have. Our only tolling point is the Pell, so all of our toll revenue is dependent upon a single point. But the A+ is great news, and we loved the things that were said. We included the press release here in my package that where the comments that they made, that S&P made about why we were getting an upgrade, and they said, for instance, that stable and recovered toll transactions following transitory declines at the onset of the pandemic, financial performance that has trended favorably, and strategic location of the Newport Pell Bridge. So those were all factors that contributed to our getting an A+. So great news. And I think, we went from A- to A just a few years ago. So this is great. It's good news for us. Plaza Road design work, we've already touched upon that, and Director Generos is correct that everyone is anxious to return the double lanes at what we call the pinch point at the toll plaza. We're anxious to return the double lanes in each direction to those who use our bridge here from Jamestown to Newport. The original date was April 30th. The only unusual event that we encountered was the condition of structure E, which is that small overpass over East Shore Road. That did need more rehabilitation than we expected, so it added a little bit to the time. We've kept all our stakeholders advised. We put out emails letting them know where we're at, and we have said that we will return the double lanes in each direction by May 17th. That I'm not going to tell you that won't be challenging. It will be challenging. The challenge is for the civil engineering side to dance with the tolling side. So Katie and Eric and teams are working very closely together to make certain that the tolling equipment and the civil engineering all comes together at the same time. In order for us to reopen the double lanes by March 17th, the testing has to be done several days before that in order for the civil engineering side to do what it has to do. So May 17th it is, and we're all going to be focused on that date and hope that we have good news to tell you at the May board meeting, because obviously we have Memorial Day coming and we want that done. The Mount Hope Bridge dehumidification project, we had told the communities of Bristol and Portsmouth and those who use the Mount Hope Bridge as access to Aquidneck Island and from Aquidneck Island that we would be doing 55 days of testing. That's actually on time. We had promised Roger Williams that would be done, that preliminary testing would be done before their commencement exercises, and we're going to be able to keep that promise. And so then we will not do anything more on the Mount Hope Bridge dehumidification project during the summer, because obviously that's high season. So we'll wait till the summer is over, and then later in the fall you'll see some of the dehumidification and the actual work of construction of the system begin, and that will continue in the spring of next year. Federal funding opportunities is great news for us. We'll be celebrating on May 30th with the entire code delegation at the Mount Hope Bridge, because we have received $17 million toward the dehumidification project. So with the $10 million that we had already received in congressionally directed spending, that's $27 million. I think that leaves us needing to plan in our capital plan, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, for the redecking of the Mount Hope, because obviously that needs to be done. Per this board's direction, we are going to be doing chip sealing on that, on the Mount Hope Bridge as an interim measure before we actually get to a full rehabilitation of that deck. So that's the only thing left for which we would be seeking a grant money at this time. We still have Raise 24 pending. I think that Joe Rodeo just mentioned that usually the Raise decisions come out in the fall. We also have Bridge Investment Program, a small bridge submission pending, and that should be out sooner, much sooner than that. I think later this spring we probably will hear about that. But we've already been very fortunate to receive. I think we're well up over $100 million at this point in terms of grant money, and where with that comes federal oversight. But we're prepared. We understood that going in, and we will comply with. We're being very attentive to all of the requirements that we have to meet in order to be entitled to this money. So, the Washington Bridge impact on RITPA operations, we are still seeing an increase. We actually see an increase in both directions. I think the more marked increase that we see is afternoons, when we could usually do construction out here and not worry about the afternoon commute westbound. But now we do see quite a bit of backup, or I'm gonna call it congestion, over the Pell, headed westbound, between anywhere from 2:30 in the afternoon until 6:30 in the evening. We do think that some of that is attributable to the Washington Bridge. Now that the Washington Bridge has 3 lanes in each direction on the eastbound side of the Washington Bridge, we think that maybe some of the traffic will return to using that. In the meantime, our concern is that we do not allow overweight vehicles on the Mount Hope Bridge, which, as we all know, is 95 years old, and is, and we're focused on keeping that bridge safe. So we have reached out, and we are working on making certain that any overweight vehicles are identified. I've reached out to the Truckers Association. I've reached out to the state police, and we are obviously also monitoring through our own traffic management technicians to make certain that we don't see overweights coming over the Mount Hope Bridge. If they're coming here from the Secana River Bridge, we're comfortable. If they're coming here from the Mount Hope, we are not, so we're focused on that. The next board meeting is May 22nd. That is our annual meeting, so not that it's any different really than any other meeting, but it is designated in our bylaws as the annual meeting. And I just will note that at that meeting, we will have on the agenda an item to advise you what we have done to review plans that we have in place here in the event there were a vessel strike on one of our bridges or any other type of catastrophic incident that may happen on one of our bridges, not necessarily just under a bridge. We do have plans in place. We are prepared to speak to you about all of our efforts in just confirming what we have in place. So you can expect that next month, and that's it.
Awesome. I've been here since the Chafee administration. This agency rate, I'm always firing awesome. Really good job, Laura, you and your staff. I mean, everything's just, it's a high confidence level. Just want to make that officially on the record.
I have an awesome staff, and I say that every day. I'm a very lucky executive director.
Shows in the report, especially in financial. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll take a motion for adjournment. Oh, we have a video, sorry.
Oh, we couldn't treat, we have to treat you.
This is one of the couple of videos that shows the water coming out of the cable. What's interesting with this one is if you'll notice, as he starts to pull the cap off, you'll see water droplets coming out from the threads. They go horizontally across the screen because it was very windy. We actually had a gentleman call the agency here and said, I just got splashed by something from your construction crew on my car. I'm just concerned, is it some sort of solvent? He was relieved when we told him it was just vintage water.
The weather's very fun on
You
this.
can see the water already starting to come out.
Whoa.
There's more.
Whoa.
So that's what's in those,
Wow,
inside those cables. That's what we're aimed at fixing.
right.
They were smart though. They made them of zinc, right? Back in the day, they made them of zinc.
So the cables are filled with the galvanizing, the strands, but it was originally lead paste. It was all packed with lead paste. And I think it was probably when the cable rehab was done, what year was it, 2000 or?
It's about what we did.
99 to 2001, I think it was.
Yep.
It appears as though they removed all of the lead back when they did when they had the whole cable unwrapped and repacked it with zinc paste instead. So,
He's up pretty high there. So, we'll adjourn first, but I do have a question about the bridge in Baltimore. I want to ask you, but we'll take a motion for adjournment. Carry unanimously. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So I